This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 FinTech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving FinTech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the FinTech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing FinTech plays in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Hi everyone, and very much welcome to Breaking Banks Europe, series number 204. And this time we're zooming in on the Belgian case. What's happening in the Belgian ecosystem? It's a very vivid one, and we know that it's very keen to actually explore what's going on, since we've got the Digital Finance Summit in Brussels coming up 8th of December. This is the time where you can actually check out the Belgian FinTech ecosystem in person. And to make everything easy for you, we're going to tell you a little bit about what's going on and why you should go. I'm doing that together with Alessandra Guion. Good morning, Alessandra.
Good morning. Good
Hi.
morning, Don.
Good to have you here. And we're going to talk to Quentin Colmant from Qover. Good morning, Quentin.
Hello, Don.
I'm really happy to have you here because I'm really keen, especially as your next door neighbor from the Netherlands, to listen to you and discuss a bit what's going on in the Belgium ecosystem. I think it's really cool how you're connected throughout Europe, and I see a lot of cool news coming from the ecosystem. So let's explore a bit what's going on. But maybe first, let's tell our listeners a bit more about who you are. Can I start with you, Quentin? Tell us a bit about yourself and about Qover.
So I'm Quentin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Qover. Qover is a Belgian-based pan-European insurtech, and insurtech is part of the FinTech family and focusing, of course, on insurance and technologies. I've done my entire career in insurance. Let's be clear, you never choose to work in insurance, you fell there by accident. I was working in the corporate world for the first 8 years of my career. And then I decided with my associate Jean-Charles Welch to launch a Qover. And long story short, Qover is an embedded insurance orchestrator. What does it mean? It means that we enable any businesses at a pan-European level, including the UK, of course, to embed insurance into their value proposition in a very digital native way. And we will orchestrate the entire insurance experience. For some few examples, we actually collaborate with a lot of FinTech at European level. If you are the user of Revolut, the neobank Revolut, most likely you are a client of Qover, because a lot of embedded insurance into their premium card plans are actually provided by Qover. Same with Monzo in the UK, Lydia in France, Canto in France. We are also working with ING Bank. You're from the Dutch ecosystem, Don. But we are working with ING Bank in Belgium. So we are very active, but not only to provide insurance to FinTech, but also a lot of digital native players like gig economy, Deliveroo, Glovo, like e-commerce, like motor space. We're actually very active in the Netherlands and in Europe in motor with several EV brands.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I think you're doing great there. So I think it's really interesting. And so you're a big fan of the embedded finance movement that's going on, I would expect.
Yeah. I'm generally speaking a big fan, because we actually have a mission and a purpose that resonate a lot with the concept of embedded finance. And that might sound awkward first, but our purpose is that nobody in the world needs to buy insurance anymore. So you are wondering, okay, does it mean Qover doesn't want to sell insurance? Not at all. We really believe to create a society where whatever happened to anyone, you are fully protected and covered, because insurance is embedded everywhere into our ecosystem. And I think, generally speaking, the great advantages of embedded finance is to be able to integrate the right value proposition at the right moment of time, trying to avoid building what we call a one-size-fits-all solution, but really for every individual experience, to build a bespoke solution and experience that cover the right risk, that is convenient for the final user, And whether you speak about embedded finance or embedded insurance, it is very similar at the end. So I'm a huge fan.
Okay, yeah, I think that's really, really interesting. But I think so also, if I would listen to that, you're really reliant on collaboration with especially larger and incumbent players as well, besides the tech natives. How do you see that relationship going? Is it really a different kind of relationship that you would evolve with the digital native players convert to the more incumbent insurance players or banking players?
So we are a pure enabler, and it's really creating win-win partnership. And I think there are two types of partnership. First of all, as an insurtech, and we also want to stay capital light. We are not a risk carrier, and because when you partner with company like Revolut or Monzo, they want to be sure that the one providing the insurance has a very strong balance sheet. And let's be clear, you need a multi-billion capitalization for that. So since day one, we are working with a lot of very large established risk carriers. The Lloyd's of London, National Netherlands, Chubb, AIG, Helvetia, Zurich Insurance. So the nature of our business is that we do collaborate with a lot of traditional players. Furthermore, what they see is that they are trying themselves to win kind of tech native partnership, and they realize that it goes in the two directions because they are very strong in carrying the risk on the balance sheet. But when it comes to how to orchestrate and to execute those kind of embedded insurance deal, they're actually knocking at our door asking Qover, could you help us? So we really develop these kind of two-sided partnerships. Okay. What is interesting to what you said is that it's true that we have been focused a lot on digital native business. And what is interesting, if you take like a neobank or a new digital player, they see Europe as one country, right? If you are a Revolut user in the Netherlands or in the UK or in France, the same tech, the same platform, the same experience, the same operations. So when those guys need to embed insurance, they need a partner that is able to provide a pan-European solution with a unified solution and processes. Yep. If they go to traditional risk carrier, they tend to be locally organized, and to cover the 32 countries of Europe, they build 32 local insurance factories. So it's really a value proposition that's speaking a lot to disruptive players. Having said that, more and more traditional players, whether it's a retailer, a car manufacturer, they are shifting toward looking at a regional distribution or a multi-country distribution approach. Even like traditional car OEM, they were selling car locally, and so the insurance was also very local. Now they go with EV online and try to do a multi-country play and a direct distribution. So actually today, we are more and more going to very large deal, and our solutions speak a lot to traditional players that go to the digital way.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting, those developments, which I think indeed are relevant for a large part of the fintech field. And I'm really curious to get your take on that as well, Alessandra. So it's really nice to have you here as representative of FinTech Belgium, which of course is also the power behind the Digital Finance Summit on the 8th of December. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your lovely assistant that's sitting on your laptop.
She won't sit, actually. That's the annoying part. So yes, I'm Alessandra. I'm the CEO of FinTech Belgium, and really happy. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really I'm excited by the Digital Finance Summit, because I see a lot of different countries coming to join us on the 8th of December, and and also I see our members developing like super fast, like Qover. And one of the topics of the DFS will be embedded finance. We called it Finance Everywhere. JC, Jean-Charles, the co-founder of Qover, will be also on stage talking about that. And I'm very excited. And not only, my background is not, as you said, Quentin, if you don't decide to come and work in finance, when I've been told that I was going to work in finance when we founded FinTech Belgium, I said no, thank you. And in the end, I was told, that I was going to actually, support another type of entrepreneurs and ecosystem that is actually bringing, transparency and customer centricity and so on. And that's where I thought, okay, the values are good. The values are in line with what I believe in. And now with embedded finance, yeah, it's getting even more exciting, I believe, because in terms of consumers, it's as Quentin said, you don't even realize that you are getting a microcredit when you buy, on certain retailers. You don't know that you're just pressing one button and everything is done. You don't know that when you get a Bolt or a Poppy car here in Brussels, like a little car for 3 minutes, you're insured behind. Everything is seamless, and I think it's really exciting times. We're living exciting times in that respect.
True. Also posing for quite some challenges there, because I think once consumers realize less actually who's behind the products and what's actually going on, that also puts them in a risky position potentially. So it does put some new requirements on the way we communicate about products and also how it's being regulated. So the end customers could actually rely on certain trust in the system.
Yeah, indeed. And but that's where also I think that's FinTech Belgium represents 132, 33 now members, and we have a charter, and this charter really pushes those values of transparency and everything. And I think it's the key as well. You won't be able to survive in this world where people are becoming more and more critical about everything. And I think I think that transparency is indeed key, and it is already pushed by the regulators, but I think it's also part of the main values of most of these guys. So it's really nice to be in there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. And so I think you represent with FinTech Belgium mostly startups and scale-ups in the tech space, right? In the FinTech space. How would you describe your relationship with the other stakeholders that are relevant? Think about incumbent players or the regulators, the investors.
Yeah.
Can you tell a bit about that?
Yeah, so we have 3 missions, and one of them is to be really the Federation for FinTech. So we are the SPOC, person for all the regulators on the one hand, European Commission through the European Digital Finance Association that we created together with Holland FinTech and many others. We are now 17 hubs as well. And carrying the voice of fintechs, and otherwise we also are very much connected to most hubs around the world. I've just come back from Singapore, where I've met so many again of them, and it is what we're doing is really trying to help all our members to expand thanks to these relationships. So we can't know everything and all the markets, and so the best way of supporting them is to be connected to these to the specialists and the experts of these markets, and so that's what we do.
Yep.
And that's one of the things we do. And then on the Belgian side, we are also very much connected to all the associations like FeBelFin or Assuralia, which are the local federations for banks and insurance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And does it work well together with the incumbent players? So do you see that that's is the traditional financial industry in Belgium actively looking for partnerships and sort of reinventing themselves in the market?
I come back also. I went to Spain like a good month ago, and there actually the banks are the ones innovating as well a lot. Whereas in Belgium, I think that the fintechs are the ones that are the most innovative and are bringing the solutions to the banking sector. So also some really interesting figures on that respect is the B2B space in Belgium is much stronger than in other countries, European countries. Before COVID, we were talking about like 50 or 60% ratio of B2B compared to B2C on the fintech markets in Europe.
Yeah.
And since COVID, it went up to 80%, which is completely logical with digitalization. But in Belgium, we're talking about over 95% of the fintechs are in the B2B space. And that's one of the topics as well of the Digital Finance Summit is how Belgium is a heaven for B2B. And it is linked to the fact that I think it's the size of the banks as well, which doesn't enable them also to put as much money as in other big countries or bigger banks into innovation. And also the market being, I mean, we are 11.5 inhabitants, 11.5 million inhabitants, and I think that it is a pretty easy landscape to figure out, and therefore I think that the fintechs can find the banks quite easily. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy to push the doors. I will certainly be able to say more about that, but we do see. We have seen, of course, the same evolution as in many countries in terms of relationship between the incumbents and the fintechs. Before there was a lot of they're not scary, let them do whatever. Then they thought, okay, we need to we are scared of them, they are a threat. And now what I see is more and more the fact that they are actually becoming really collaborators, and we can see more and more interest in fintechs, and banks are realizing more and more that it won't be possible for them to answer all the regulation. The weight of the regulatory framework is becoming heavier and heavier, and they won't be able to face this on their own. As much as the market is changing very quickly, the customers and players like retailers and everything are asking for financial products more and more, and the distribution can't be done just by the incumbents, and that's where the fintechs are really key in the whole story. So I think that collaborations are getting better. Yes.
Yeah. If I can jump in, I agree with you, but I would add a caveat is that I still would split the market, and maybe the same for a lot of markets, into two parts. There are incumbent, there are established players that want to only focus on their local market. And you have kind of, strong Belgian banks or strong Belgian insurers that are only looking for the local Belgian market, and they are not actually really they are not in the need to get, support from fintech, disruptive player, insurtech player, because they know the market, they are championing their market, the regulation is local and it's easy to cope with. I see that a lot of companies that try to be a bit broader or that are operating in many countries, they really kind of start to struggle to cope with a pan-European, typically embedded insurance or finance solution. Yep. And it is where they need disruptive player cope with the orchestration of the many different elements you need, to orchestrate and associate together. Don, you were speaking about the regulation. If you're only playing in Belgium or only playing in the Netherlands, I don't think really you have a lot to do again changing the regulation or fighting for different regulation. But if you zoom out as a player like Qover, what we see is that in insurance, there are a lot of European directives, but the directive is not an act, which means that every country is entitled to define how they would implement this directive. And at the end, we have a kind of spaghetti of local regulation. They all aim at improving and protecting the consumer, but the way they think about protecting consumer would differ. And this make it's very difficult, and I think it's a threat for the European ecosystem. Why? Because you see a lot of fintech and insurtech that grow in APAC or in the US. They have access to a bigger market. Yes, in the US, it's state-by-state regulated, but there is a much stronger harmonization from a process perspective. APAC is a bit less regulated, and then you create global champion there that attract VC money. And once they are very strong and big enough, they can get into the European market. What is interesting is that I've seen a lot of insurtech from the US coming in the European markets. I've not yet seen a European insurtech going to the US. And I think, it's very critical as a federation among different countries to fight for a better European harmonization that will help us to build stronger pan-European player, whether they are based in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in Spain, whatever. I'm a European first person.
Totally agree there. I think this is also what we, with the European Digital Finance Association, for example, collaborate with FinTech Belgium on to actually create to emphasize this message, especially on a European level, as well as on country level, because I think that's actually where the trouble starts. I think in Brussels they have quite a good notion of and quite some nice ideas about how to create a single European market, but you see indeed that the nation states are still quite stubborn to hand over the controls to the central authority, and that's definitely a challenge for especially highly regulated industries, where indeed the differentiation in regulation can be really a burden.
And to join, I mean, I fully agree with you, Quentin, on the two types of actors that we have here in Belgium, and in terms of incumbents. And I will say also that even the ones that are local and don't need to innovate as much as, at some point, other players, even though Belgium is rather small market, other players are going to come in, and it might become a threat to them. So that's when they will need definitely to innovate, but at the same time they are also answering the same regulation as all the others, and that's where I think that the RegTech space that is developing very fast in Belgium is going to take another step as well, and still grow even stronger. And that's where I see most of the of collaboration with these type of actors that are more local, maybe not with the innovators, let's say, or enabling technologies, but really in the RegTech space, which is one of the biggest sectors in Belgium, actually.
Yeah, I think there's definitely I think pan-European. You see quite a large push for RegTech firms, whether it's on data on ESG or reporting tooling. It's quite interesting to see that development. Yeah,
indeed. Indeed.
I wanted to zoom in a bit on the investment ecosystem. Maybe can you give a head start of that, and then it might be nice to ask Quentin to tell us about his journey, perhaps on raising funding.
So the Belgian ecosystem has, I would say, two particularities. One, it's small. I say small, but we have a lot of pre-seed and seed investors. This is it's actually a heaven for that. And we also have, which is not a given in other countries, is a public investors as well. So these are, I would say, the two main attributes. And when it comes to getting bigger funds, B or C series, then you need to go abroad and bring in the big guns. Then you can't find them. I mean, they know Belgium, they have them in the radar, but it's more to the Belgian to go and get them than the Belgian actors to get them. But I can maybe we can hear the story of Quentin.
Yeah, sure. So long story short, we raised so far a total of close to 70 million euro, so 70. So we are a Series C company today. I would say that when we started finding business angel or pre-seed capital in Belgium, it's okay because you have a kind of network of wealthy people or former entrepreneur. But when it go to Series A, Series B type of capital, it's already more difficult. And growth capital at Series C, almost forget about it. I think, where we are lucky is that at the end, we've been able to be seen as a country part of Europe. And Europe has became a new scene for investors and a lot of VC players. And actually, we raise a lot of VC from the French ecosystem, from French VC. There are a lot of tier one VC there. We also have VC money from UK players. And also we have a CVC that recently participated in our latest fundraising. Having said that, I'm a big fan of raising money because when you think about it, the LP, so the investor of the venture capital, they are actually global. And when you raise money in Belgium, somehow you re-import capital that was exported 100 years ago, right? So, you get, and I think we should teach entrepreneurs to raise as much cash as they can, because then you re-import cash to develop your local economy and then to grow the European economy. But clearly, Belgium has the advantage to be part of Europe. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to raise capital. What is still a bit of a struggle is to get growth stage capital. They also mind the fact that they are not familiar with Belgian law. And when you need to create a shareholder agreement, the code of society and so on, it's a bit very specific and they are not always at ease, I would say. And we have that case where some VC say, look, we're not keen to invest in a Series A because the amount to invest is not that big, but the legal expenses are with that to understand your local specificities is too high. And so it's something we have to pay attention to.
It's also very much linked to the to our culture, I think, the size of the country, but also there's humble. We are maybe too humble, and Belgians. I mean, when I have conversations with certain entrepreneurs and telling me, "Oh, I'm going to raise like this, 100,000 Ks and 100,000 euros," sorry, and you're like, why don't you see bigger? Why don't you, don't see just Belgium, just see big. And you can see the players that are actually seeing bigger, like Qover, like Kirok, which, raised 71 millions as well. Some are looking bigger and raising bigger, like yields as well. But, touching the millions is not something that you see as often as in other countries. And I think that there's a cultural thing as well. At the same time, what I see is that these guys, the ones that have raised less and have done a lot more with their own funds, they're growing more steadily. Okay, the curve is not like this, like in other countries and over-evaluated companies and stuff. Yep. We don't have a unicorn yet, and I'm saying yet because seriously, I see some, and I won't point any finger, but yes, I hope
you see some good potential. Yes,
exactly. But
we still have 2 unicorns in Belgium, but not into the fintech space. When you think of Odoo and Colibra, those are 2 great examples.
Yep.
Exactly. But Colibra is really data, and they left to Holland, if I'm not mistaken. And and Odoo doesn't want to recognize, it's an accounting tech, doesn't want to recognize itself as a fintech. So, but we don't have in our fintech space, in our definition of the fintech space, we don't have a unicorn yet. But it also shows, I think, another type of curve, and whether it is good or not for the future, I don't have a crystal ball, but the world is going fast. But at the same time, it went so fast that with the crisis that happened, a lot of them that went like this went like that afterwards, whereas ours are going that, and they might have seen a little bump in their curve, but they haven't completely crashed for most of them, because I think it's a more
that's the upside of being a bit more conservative, right? So if you're a bit more conservative, you also have less risk on your in your operations, probably. And I think that's also what I do see traditionally also in the Dutch market. Investors are more aimed at break even in a foreseeable time, instead of just pour out the money and then we'll see where we'll get the next round. What you will see more in America, for example. I think there's the conservativeness definitely doesn't always pay off, because you might grow a bit slower. But especially with the downfall in valuations that we saw and the sort of crunch in VC capital, these companies are now better financeable at this moment than the ones that actually raised at enormous valuations.
Yeah, indeed.
But keep also in mind that another story is companies or founders that decided not to continue to grow, but to sell. And it's also a question is that maybe at the moment you want to secure what you have built. I have 3 examples in mind. Recently, Silverfin was sold for, I think, more than 300 million euros. Silverfin is a fintech that was active, still active in automated financial reporting. We've had, of course, Clear2Pay that we know very well, that was acquired by FIS. And we've also Ogon, the payment gateway that was acquired by Ingenico. So actually, I think those three one had kind of unicorn potential, but maybe they decided at a certain moment of time to stop the journey. And it's also maybe part of a cultural blocker of Belgian people instead of continue for more growth, to secure what they have, right?
Yeah, yes, I think it's indeed. Also the unicorn sounds like the thing everybody should be looking for, but I would always really argue whether that's actually really the case. So thanks for the examples, Quentin. I think we almost have to wrap up. So I would like to get your final take on things that people should be coming to DFS for. So why should they come and check it out? Alessandra, I probably should best start with you. What can people come and get when they come to Brussels on the 8th of December?
So apart from the fact that it's the best event in Belgium, no, but seriously, it is the biggest event. It's not because I organize it that it is the best one, but it's from people coming in the previous years that I can say. I'm just sharing what they said. It is the biggest event. We're touching all the latest trends in fintechs. I mentioned too. We will also look at the regulation. The status.
Would you expect regulators, banks, insurance, these kind of firms as well to be there?
Absolutely, that's one of the things. Yeah. So in terms of topics, we will be touching all of these. We will be touching regulation, and also we will be touching AI, Gen AI, data governance, and everything. So those will be the topics. Then in terms of attendees, we're expecting between 600 and 700 attendees, which is the biggest event in Belgium. And it is, indeed, we will have like 60% of banks, financial services, fintechs, and then the rest is tech, big tech. We have regulators, legal offices, consulting companies, investors. Stage one will be like, the usual main stage with panels, with keynotes. We will have like Reinders coming from the European Commission on stage as well. Yep. Our main partners are, MasterCard, Microsoft, and Visa. Also, a local telco, Proximus, which has developed a digital KYC solution. And so on. And what we do as well as FinTech Belgium is that we give 50% discount to all our members that are still startups, so that we actually don't have just the big ones, the ones that have raised and have got the budget to be there, but also the smaller ones. And so you really have an exhibition hall with nearly 35 exhibitors, with really a wide range of players. So in terms of networking, I have to say that that's where I see the magic much more than even in the topic, because I think that you can read a lot, you can learn a lot, even on the internet. But the magic of the DFS, and I think it's also proper to our market. I don't know how it is in Holland, but in Belgium, you need to be there to meet people and to make connections. We are very open to any other culture, any other international player, and we are not protectionist, and that's not in our culture. We are very much open, but we need to meet people, and everything is in the human contact. And the DFS is really that place where you're going to be able to meet all the players.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think till innovation is a very social game that in the end works best with the pleasure of a Belgian beer and some gourmet food, as we're always renowned to get when we go to Brussels.
Indeed. And also one thing that I forgot to say is that yesterday we actually announced all the finalists, but we are organizing a European FinTech pitch battle where 20 FinTechs are going to pitch in front of a jury of 20 of investors, startups in the morning, scale-ups in the afternoon, to maybe win an award by the end of the day with some prizes. We have, and I think that Qover actually won one of these awards some years ago, but a while ago. And
so there's a straight correlation there with their later success.
I would like to think so.
Cool. Thanks, Alessandra. Quentin, are anything particular you're looking out for the coming period?
No, I think I wanted also to insist to join the summit on December the 8th. And I think what is interesting, there are three points that come out of my mind. Number one is we are close. We have the chance in Belgium to be very close to the European institutions. By the way, last week I had a delegation from the European institution coming to get to know the reality of company like Qover and Optech and accommodate that. So it's not about lobbying, but it's also understanding the mindsets and that help a lot innovator. Number two is that because Belgium is small, a lot of fintech are looking at pan-European level and also a lot of partnership and try to enable all the business and with a good karma and we are easygoing people to do business with. So, I mean, you should also come with a perspective of learning and maybe thinking about partnership because together we are stronger and better. And last but not least, of course, it's a unique opportunity to catch up with my co-founder, DC, because as I say, Qover is a very strong enabler of fintech to help others to embed insurance program into their value proposition. And it has a huge impact on generating more revenues or increasing customer loyalty or reducing customer acquisition cost. So I think that's the three best reasons to come.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think that's a really compelling case. I'm in any case really looking forward to seeing you there in Brussels on the 8th of December. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up. So I wish everyone in Belgium and the Netherlands have fun with Sinterklaas just before the DFS kicks off with all the presents and candy. And for the rest, I'm really looking forward to learn more about what's happening in Belgium in a couple of weeks' time. So thank you for joining, Quentin, Alessandra. Been really great to have you on the show and looking forward to seeing you in person soon. Thank you for listening to Breaking Banks Europe.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Quentin. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Europe, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with FinTech Stage. Don't forget to tweet us out, shout out, or post to the team at Breaking Banks EU on Twitter. If there's something or someone you'd like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next week on Breaking Banks Europe.